Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatiana. I am a business coach and mentor for women wanting to start their own stationery businesses. I'm so excited you're here. We are going to be talking all about just some of the things that I would have told myself or that I wish I would have known when I first started my stationery business. And I wanted to do it in a way of kind of just walking you through a little bit of a timeline of how I got started, some of my different kind of major moments and things like that, and then just advice I would have given myself, and ultimately really to help you if you are especially in the beginning stages of wanting to start yours as well. So my business is called the Stationery Muse. It has been a thing for almost about 6 years. May is actually the anniversary month, so I'm very excited to just be celebrating and reflecting and just looking back at how far I've come. But yeah, May 19th is the date that I opened up my Etsy shop back in 2016 and really got this thing going. And so to be sitting here and having maybe coaching now for about almost 2 years of that time, coaching other women to do the same, if not better than me, that has been my goal. And with this channel, that has really what it's been all about. And so through all of the different lessons I've learned, the setbacks that I've had, the wins that I've had, the success, the loss, all of those different things, I'm able to pull from those experiences. And that's exactly what I pour into my clients as I work through them in my different programs and courses and things like that. So before I get into that, I wanted to let you know that today's video is actually sponsored by my May coaching special. And the reason for that is because it is a really, really big deal. So for the month of May, I'm offering a really good discount on all of my programs and services that I offer. So definitely check it out. The link is going to be down below. On that page, you'll be able to read all about the services, and each of them have a coupon code you can use to either get up to 50% off. Some of them it's a couple hundred off, so you'll be able to read about them and then see that way. I'm also planning on filming a video very soon where I kind of sit down and just explain exactly what are the ways to work with me, how you can do that, because I get those questions a lot. So I will be answering that in a future video. But the May coaching special is a great time right now. We're in the midst of the spring, and it's really just to encourage you, no matter where you are getting started, that I'm here to support you. I'm here to help. I have so many different programs that can really meet you wherever you are within your journey to help you get started. So make sure you check that out. This is the best sales that I have offered on any of my programs and services pretty much since I've started. So definitely take a look at it if you've been wanting to possibly work with me and get your stationery business started. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this video. So I kind of mentioned already that I started my stationery business back in May of 2016. And so prior to that, I had actually been really wanting to get started for about a year before that. So it was around probably like the beginning of 2015 when I really was thinking, ooh, it'll be really fun to create my own business. At the time, I wasn't really sure what that was going to look like. I didn't know what type of stationery business I wanted to create or if I even wanted to do a stationery business, but I knew that it was something that I was kind of being called to do. And so before that, I was kind of into photography, and I had a photography business, and that was kind of what I was doing. And so getting more into the planner community, I really was just like, no, like I need to do this. And so I really became that person that was purchasing everything. I had the subscription boxes. I was getting all the Happy Planner sticker books, getting all of the stickers from all of the Etsy shops, trying out the A5 binders from Kiki K, and like all of these different things. And so I ended up falling in love with the binder planning system, that A5 planning system. And so that was when I was like, okay, I think I want to start with planner inserts. And at the time, there were not really that many shops out there that were selling them. It was kind of on the rise. At that time, I feel like it was definitely people were doing it, but it was not nearly how it is today. And so I just kind of looked, I saw, I'm like, okay, what are people charging? What are people doing? What kinds of things are they selling? And so I wanted to come up with an original design of my own. But all while this was going on, in the back of my head, I was just like, no, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea how to get started with this. If you've ever heard my story before, I go into full detail on how this moment became. So I'll make sure I link my story times below of just like how I got into entrepreneurship. But it took me a year to actually start my business, just simply because I kept making excuses. I was in my own way. I was looking at a lot of things that happened in my past, how they didn't work out. And I was really using that to just fuel or really remove the fuel from my motivation of wanting to get started with this. And so because of that, I wasted a lot of time. And so the first tip I would definitely give myself would be to just do it afraid. Just do it. No matter what, you are never going to know everything. I had a video I recently filmed all about just some of the things that might be holding you back. So make sure you check that one out too, because I go a lot more, I give so many just tips and just things that might be really stopping you from truly getting to your destiny, getting to what it is that you're being called to do. And so that is the biggest tip I would give myself back then, when I took that year of just like researching everything to death, making excuses, and just ultimately just being paused by the process. I felt like there's so many things I need to do. At the time, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to get registered with the state. I need to figure out like what it takes to run a business. Like, can I do this? Like, how much is this stuff going to be? What am I going to design it on? Like, all of the questions that many of you have asked me were all questions that I was asking myself. I was confused. I didn't know what I was doing. And so that was just me starting at square one. And at the time, the only type of designing or anything I had done was literally like invitations for like baby showers and stuff for friends. And then I used to like kind of create little like binder pages for myself. But other than that, that was about it. So I had a bit of a tech background that I was bringing to it because I had built websites and stuff before. But other than that, I really did not have a ton of experience to help me with this particular business. So I finally got started. I did a ton of research on how to open an Etsy shop, you know, what to do successfully on there. And that's another thing that I really recommend is early on, figure out what you want to sell on. I know sometimes that can be an afterthought, but think about, where do I want to sell my products? What are the pros and cons of the different platforms? There's so many out there for you to choose from, different price points available, different levels of difficulty versus support from customer service. Really look into that. The two that I personally, well, actually three that I've personally used over the course of just me being an entrepreneur have been WooCommerce, Shopify, and Etsy. So those are the three that I'm the most familiar with and have used extensively. And I will say Shopify has to be my favorite by far, just because there's so much customization and options, and it's just kind of endless. And I really, really love the customer service that they have too. So anyway, that was just kind of like an extra tip. So as I mentioned, I really wanted to do planner inserts. And so before I even got into the planner inserts, I actually did some like digital invitations. See, like pulling from that little bit of what I had did, I had created these 2 graduation invitations. I'll try to see if I can find a picture of them and put them up on the screen for y'all. It was kind of like a more grayish colored one, and then there was like a peachy colorful one. And so that was actually the first thing I had on my Etsy shop to begin with. I don't even know if you guys know this, but before I even also offered personal stationery for a while. I did different cards. They were really, really pretty actually, where it was like the front, you could get your name on it, first and last name, and then the back had pretty patterns and things that I had got off of Creative Market, which is one of my favorite places to get commercial artwork from. Absolutely love it, because a lot of times it can be very affordable. You get a pack of a ton of different designs in one file that you order. It's commercial use, so you are allowed to put it on products that you're selling, and the quality is just bomb. There's a ton of illustrators that put their things on there for you to use, and so that was what I used early on for pretty much everything that I came out with. I was using commercial artwork from Creative Market. But yeah, I did personal stationery. I used to actually get my envelopes from literally my favorite stationery store, y'all, is Paper Source. And I used to get these really pretty envelopes with this really long flap on there. And then people would order the sets of the cards with their name on it. Like, I really enjoyed doing that. Sometimes I miss things like that. And I would put like the little liners in the envelopes. Like, I really have touched on just a bit of every piece of the stationery process in some way. But yeah, so I did that as well, but I ended up doing the inserts, and I've told this story before, but basically I did not have a heavy duty printer, a heavy duty cutter. I didn't have anything to get started, and neither did I have the funds to get started with that. And so I ended up actually working with the company at the time that I was working with. I was working at a university, and they had a print, kind of just like a print shop in there, you know, where students could come and print off stuff for classes and things. And so that was actually what I used. I used to get my inserts printed there. I would purchase the paper from Office Max. I would get my pack, and then I would take it there. And I remember Barry, the printer guy, he would print it off for me. And then at the time I was just using the it wasn't even heavy duty, but the trimmer within the office that I was working in. So that was how I got started, and then eventually I was able to invest in, the first thing I got was the heavy duty cutter, because I was doing a decent amount of sales, and so I needed to be able to cut the stuff and not literally only be able to cut like one set at a time or 10 pages at a time or something like that. And then eventually I ended up getting the printer as well. So I think a tip that I would probably have given myself as well, or just even just some advice at that time, is just to remember to trust the process. Remember that it's not all going to be super amazing in the beginning. And I just remember feeling kind of down on myself because I didn't have my own equipment. I didn't have my own stuff just yet, and I didn't have like this huge volume of orders and all of these things early on that can just feel discouraging, you know, to just make you feel like, okay, is this even worth my time? And I promise you that it is. I promise that we all have to have those humble beginnings and just things that people don't necessarily see when you look at just different businesses that you might see as successful, and then you're comparing it to your current stance where you are right now. It's hard to compare those things because everybody starts from somewhere, but we don't always see those beginning parts of the process. So just motivating myself during that time. And for you, especially if you are within that beginning stage, even if you have not had one sale yet or whatever the case may be, just remember that trust the process. In due time, everything will fall into place. It will happen. You don't have to have it all figured out. That is just so important to know, especially in entrepreneurship, because if you get hung up on those things, you will never move forward. And so speaking of sales, actually, I remember getting my first sale. So I had those digital invitations up for a little bit, and I really didn't. I think I want to say maybe I shared it like once or twice on my Instagram page that I had, and then I kind of just like, that was it. And so then I was trying to figure out those designs. I was kind of doing a little bit of a ramp up, saying like, oh, I have some inserts coming. I do not remember the time frame. I'll have to look it up and I'll probably insert pictures, but it was somewhere between 2 weeks to a month or so when I got my first sale. So I was so excited. I'll never forget, I was at work when I got the sale. Her name was Jessica. Like, I still remember that because it was such a special moment for me to have gotten a sale of something that I had talked myself out of doing for a year. And it was somebody out there that actually was interested in wanting to purchase something from me. And so just remember that the first sale will come. It may not be the moment you launch your site and it's available for purchase. It's not going to be the moment you post for the first time or anything like that. It's going to be patience and persistence with this process. It's really all about just continuing to show up. And I know this is like beating a dead horse because I know I talk about showing up all the time, but it is just so true. Anytime, and I'm also speaking to myself from then as well, because, you know, to me, I thought like, okay, when I launch something immediately, like people are going to be flocking to the site and they're going to be purchasing. And that's just not always the case, especially in the beginning. If you don't really have an audience, if you haven't really taken the time to get them excited, educate them on who you are, what your business is all about, what they can expect, and giving them something as well, it's kind of hard to expect that on the return, you're going to get all these people like on the site, like flooding your site and wanting to sell you out. So that was something that I did not know at the time, was like remembering, okay, the amount of work that I'm putting in over here, like me posting once or twice out of the week saying, oh, okay, these are here, versus me, the result that I'm thinking I'm going to get from that, they're just not equal. I can't put in this much work and then expect to get this result. It's just very hard to do that. And so that's something I would definitely have told myself if I was like a mentor to myself, of just like, look, girl, you need to do a little bit more than this cute little post that you're doing. You need to do a little bit more than posting at one time and then like waking up the next morning like, I don't have any sales. So that can be discouraging, especially in the beginning. And so that's a huge thing that I would have told myself, and definitely what I would have done differently, and that is have come up with more of a launch plan, figuring out, okay, this is my launch date, working backwards from my launch date. This is things that I talk about in my program, the Inspire Blueprint, with clients, and help them come up with their custom launch strategies. Because when you are ready to launch a product, it is so important to have a plan of how that is going to be rolled out, especially when you are a brand new business, to make sure that you are really setting the tone for who you are, what you're here to do, what people can expect. It's so important to have that strategy in place so that you can have a successful launch. So fast forward to 2017. At this point, I've been in business for about a year, a little over a year at this point, and I decided to do a subscription box. And so a lot of personal things happened within that year. I'm not gonna get into a ton of that because again, that's in that story time, but I ended up getting let go from the job that I was at. And so I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm gonna be doing. I was kind of in limbo because we were possibly gonna be moving from Charlotte, where we were at the time, to New Mexico, where we live now. And I didn't know if we were for sure moving here though. So it was kind of like I didn't really know where to apply for a job. Like it was just a whole strange season. And so I decided to just pour my energy into the Stationery Muse. And that was when the Live, Love, Inspire box was birthed. That was the subscription box that I had. At the time, it started out as a monthly themed box to inspire women to just feel their best, to feel joy, happiness, especially if they're dealing with difficult seasons. And so every theme was really designed to just hit somebody within a specific point when they needed it. And I absolutely loved doing that box. It was just such a treat to put it together. I was so excited to roll out the themes. And so that was when I really started kind of getting my feet wet with launching, because I was doing it every single month. Every month I had like little sneak peeks of what people could expect. I was doing little teasers, and then eventually it would lead up to me doing the full unboxing and everybody would have their stuff. So that was my first time where I really sat down and was like, okay, this is the strategy, this is how it's gonna go. I had my set dates for when my box was going to release versus when it was gonna be mailed out versus when people could sign up. It was like a whole logistical thing. And so that was, to me, really the first time where I was like, okay, I really need to get my ducks in a row. And this happened after months of doing it. It wasn't like from the very first month I knew exactly all the logistics. But as time went on, I saw where there were gaps. I noticed things I could be doing better, especially like with a subscription of any kind, whether it's a digital subscription or it is a membership or a physical product or whatever the case may be, a subscription box. You really want to have volume as much as possible in order to make it make sense for you financially. And so it's constantly having to get people aware of what it is that you're doing. You know, you can't expect that like, oh, okay, I have 100 people that signed up, that same 100 people is just gonna stick with you forever. People leave, people cancel, people come back, people skip, you know, depending if you have that option. And so you have to remember that and think of how you can constantly be bringing people in the door. And so that was another thing that was difficult for me at the time, because I took it so personally when somebody canceled. I mean, to the point where I would be like, is it even worth it? I would be so hurt when somebody canceled, and it's for so many reasons. A lot of times, more often than not, it was not personal. It had nothing to do with my box not being good enough or anything like that. It was just simply because people were like, I have enough subscription boxes already, or I have financial hardship, so I need to cancel. So many different things, or they just felt like they had enough and they just needed to take a break, or there was just so many reasons. And so I think another thing, and this is just even for me, not even just business, but in life in general, I tend to take things seriously a lot. I know where that comes from. That's something I've worked through. But I take things to heart, especially when I'm literally pouring my heart into it. And I really was pouring my heart into every single one of those boxes, the themes, the colors, the quotes, everything. It just flowed together really nicely. If you were a subscriber of the Live, Love, Inspire box, hey, thank you so much. That was such a fun like era of my business, because it just taught me so much of what I know now. It's just not even funny. Like, it just taught me so much of what I know now. So that would be the biggest thing, is just to remember it's business, it's not personal. And even if it is personal, people will let you know. And typically, if somebody is dissatisfied with something, they're gonna let you know. They're not going to just leave and not say anything. I don't think I ever had a situation where someone was upset. I know there were a few times some boxes arrived damaged from, like, you know, shipping and things like that. So that was lessons to learn on how to you know, send them better, tape them up better, different things like that. And I just think you live and you learn, right? You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna do things where even you don't know it's gonna be a mistake because it's your first time, and then you're like, okay, maybe we'll do that differently next time. And so the whole just box thing was a learning lesson. Eventually I got more confident and I started to share it a lot more. I got more structured with my launches, and it started to grow. It started to grow really well. I reached out to Lisa Mac Plans at the time on YouTube, or I think she was Planning and Praying on YouTube. Absolutely, I'm obsessed with her, y'all. And she really helped me as well with getting it to take off. I was on Michelle's channel. That really helped to get me some exposure. So anytime you can send your products to like an influencer or somebody that you know, this is also something I would have told myself a lot earlier on, because at that point I think I had been doing my box for like a year and a half, and I finally was like, oh, maybe I should do this. But yeah, so just getting yourself out there on other platforms, sharing with other people, willing to make the investment to do that, because sometimes you will have to do those things up front without knowing if you're going to get a return on your investment. So it's just different things like that you have to make those moves. You have to be willing to, again, show up, show your face, to get people excited and know what it is that you're doing in order to get those sales, get those people to your platform, to, in my case, really to inspire those people, get them motivated, and then at some point, if they wanted to purchase some of my products within the shop, some of my, or even sign up for my subscription box. And so while I had the subscription box, I also had normal products as well. I had notebooks, notepads, sticker kits, all kinds of things going on as well, kind of in the background, but that took a bit of a back seat because I was just doing a subscription box. And so I started to miss like the normal products, and then becoming a mom, I ended up getting very overwhelmed with the constant needing to come up with a new theme every single month. And so that was when the transition really started to happen. And so yeah, I ended up switching the box from what was monthly at the time to bi-monthly. I did that for a bit. I want to say I did it for almost a year, and then eventually I just realized that it was too much, because at that time I was getting into business coaching, and that was starting to be a lot. And plus it was just a weird season. It was also when I ended up stopping the box was back in 2020. Y'all know 2020 was a crazy year. And so it was just a lot going on, a lot of soul searching, a lot of just trying to figure things out. And saying goodbye to my box was probably one of the hardest decisions I had to make, because I loved that box. I really loved it. And it really, as the time went on, it just really grew into something amazing. And towards the end, I even started doing my own illustrations, which was really fun as well. And so that's another tip I will give, not necessarily to myself, but just to someone, because I've heard this many times before too. You don't need to be an illustrator in order to get started. You don't have to have like this artistic capabilities. I do challenge you though, that you may be able to do it yourself. You just may not be aware. A lot of times we have things inside of us that we just haven't unlocked yet because we haven't had a reason to. And so don't ever count yourself out and think like, okay, I'm horrible at drawing, or I'm horrible at designing, or whatever the case is, because you might be able to do it. And what I love about that is it really gives you the ability to do whatever you want without having to wait on someone else. And so that has always been my motto from day one with my business. I always was willing to learn a new skill, try something that maybe I wasn't familiar with, because I knew that I could just do it. You know, once I did learn it, I could just do it, versus, let's say for example, if I never learned how to set up my Shopify site and do that, then I would literally have to wait on somebody to update my site all the time, or I would have to wait on someone to fix something for me if something went wrong. So I just challenge you in any capacity to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable, to learn how to just move forward within your business. And it doesn't mean you have to do everything well. It doesn't mean you have to do everything forever. Eventually outsourcing is always an option, but I just think it never hurts to just learn all of the pieces of your business as much as you can, because it's just going to help you. So even then, as you do grow and you're able to then delegate to different people, now you know it yourself, so you're able to teach it to someone else, and you're able to teach it in a way of how you would do it, which is always a really nice bonus. That's kind of some of the major things. The last really, I guess, major part was when I decided to launch the Live, Love, Inspire planner. And that was amazing. And so from day one, I wanted to have my own planner. Like, that was the dream. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And of course, years went on. My planner did not launch until September of 2020. So I had been in business for a bit before it finally came to be. But I remembered that at the end of 2019, I was like, okay, 2020 is my year. I'm going to have a planner, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else about it. There will be a planner. And so I didn't know exactly what kind of planner. Like I mentioned, I had started kind of getting a bit into business coaching. And so that's kind of where the business pull came from. And I really there weren't really a ton of business planners that I felt really fit the needs of what I was looking for. And so that was when I was like, okay, I'm just going to start designing it. I started just designing it. I didn't know what it was going to really look like or anything, but I just started playing around, sketching out, and just doing the whole thing, dreaming it up, figuring out what type of binding I liked. I started contacting companies overseas to see what the costs would be, what their options were. And it was probably around the spring of 2020 when I realized, like, kind of once things calmed down a bit, with all of that stuff going on, that was when I finally was like, okay, I think I'm gonna make this thing by hand, especially because there was just no telling how things were gonna go. That time in 2020 was just kind of unknown for a lot of things, and I didn't know even if I could do it overseas at the time, which now I know I could have, but I just didn't know. It was a lot of things because, like I've said before, anytime you go to do something new, you're not gonna know everything. And so I had ordered from overseas many times with my subscription box, like I've lost count how many times I ordered from overseas. I've had ups and downs with ordering from overseas, but it was my first time doing it since now we were kind of in this new experience of what we were dealing with. So that was another reason why I decided to go handmade with my planner. And I think the biggest thing I would tell myself then, because I was just so hung up on like, oh my gosh, are people going to really like this? Because the year before that, I also had the Live, Love, Inspire notebook. If you've heard of that, that was another major product I had that came out, and I was making those by hand. It was a journal that I put together. I had like really pretty gold coils, and I had put that together by hand. So I had already had that experience, and my Live, Love, Inspire box, most of the items were handmade in there as well. So when it was time to do the planner, I'm like, okay, why is this any different? I felt like I was supposed to like level up, and it was supposed to be so different. When in reality, I think that was really what made it unique, and it gave it an edge. People were able to get customization, which was something I always felt was important. I've always had things people can customize. My box, you could get it customized. You even could get your skin tone to be on like the stickers that came with the box. You could get your initial or your name on things. And so that was something also that was really special. And so I wanted to carry that through with my planner, and I knew I couldn't necessarily do that if I was ordering like 500 from a company off of Alibaba or something like that. So that was another reason why I went with handmade. I don't have any regrets about handmade, because what it allowed me to do was to show others that there's another way to do something, and it can still be of high quality. And so that was kind of how even the Handmade Planner Masterclass was birthed, because people were really curious about my process. People wanted to know, well, how did you do that? I want to do the same thing. They were really intrigued to know that you could create this high quality product even though it didn't come from like this overseas manufacturer. And so I'm here to say that is probably one of the biggest things I'm the most proud of that I've done, is that I just stayed true to the vision of what I wanted to do. Did I get every single thing that I wanted with that planner? No, there was a lot of changes I had to make, of expectations of how I thought it was going to look initially and how it ended up looking. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't change anything about it. And it is still to this day my most popular product, the highest selling product. And it's the one that I was the most strategic with, from my launch strategy to just my consistency of being online. All of that really ramped up for it to just be an amazing product within my shop that is still in my shop. And so to this day, here we are, it'll be 6 years. And the biggest lesson, I guess, through all of this has just been that as you grow, your business grows with you. As you change, sometimes things have to change. And that is where I've been kind of sitting in this last like 6 months of what I want to do next with my stationery business. So yeah, I'm kind of at this new chapter within my business where I'm like, okay, what's gonna be the next route that I'm gonna go? And it'll be really interesting. I'm of course gonna share all of that on here. Lots of new things coming for my personal stationery business. It took a bit of a backseat as I've been helping a lot of my clients to get started with their businesses and to grow their businesses and to really just pour into my coaching business, the Inspire Blueprint. That has been my focus for a while. And so I'm excited to be kind of almost like knocking on the door of my stationery business again, like, hey girl, I'm sorry, I've been gone for a little bit, but I'm back. So that's been really exciting. And overall, this journey has just been exciting. I've loved being able to, and I didn't even mention this, but just that I decided to document my business journey here on this channel. You can go all the way back to pretty much the beginning of when I started, like my first boxes that I created, my first products that I had in my shop, and just see the progression of how I was able to get more confident, how I was able to grow, and just share it all. Like, I have never been a person that holds anything back. I always share my process. I always give what I can to my clients, especially. They know I hold nothing back for them. And even on my channel, I share so much of my personal journey just to encourage you all to know that you can do the same. And so it was really fun to kind of just think about some of the things that happened from just me running my stationery business, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that I'm coming up on 6 years this month. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below, what was your biggest takeaway from this? What is something that you feel you can take into your business journey that can help you if you've been in your own way, or if you've been feeling like there's something that's maybe been getting you hung up? Hopefully this has been able to help you with that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.